Okay, stop. Because what you're about to see is one of the most stunning exposés of congressional hypocrisy I've watched in months. A Republican chairman who loves to scream about law and order, accountability, and transparency just got caught on camera admitting that he never once attempted the most basic legal step required before throwing someone into contempt. This isn't just incompetence. This is political theater collapsing in real time. Welcome back to True Liberty, where we cut through the noise and get straight to what's at stake for democracy, for accountability, and for every working person who's tired of watching power protect itself.
Gentleman from California withdraws point of order who seeks recognition. Gentleman from California is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, much as I don't like certain parts of the Mazur's decision, it clearly applies in this case, and the committee is required to engage with the White House in order to seek an accommodation over materials held by a private party, as they were in the Mazur's case, and seek to resolve this with the White House. So I would ask unanimous consent that we enter into the record your correspondence to the White House.
Objection.
Seeking to engage them to resolve this. And I thank the chairman for not objecting. Can you produce that correspondence to the White House asking for accommodation on these materials you sought by this subpoena?
First time they reached out to us was 2 days ago.
Yes, and of course the author expressed the concern that these materials may implicate interests of the executive. I think that was weeks ago. But having admitted without dissent your correspondence to the White House, can you produce that for us where you have sought an accommodation, where you've sought to work this out with the White House? Can you share that with us since that is now part of the record?
Well, I thought you had it. You wanted to enter it into the record.
I do. I presume that knowing your responsibilities, you have sought to engage the White House. So,
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Produce the
recognized for point of order.
I think a unanimous consent request to submit something to the record is where the person who's asking for the floor is the proponent of submitting information that member has. I don't believe it's appropriate to ask a unanimous consent request to engage in a colloquy over discovering information or obtaining information from another member of the committee.
Great, and that's why I said that no objection to the unanimous consent request. If the gentleman from California wants to talk about that and present it to us, God bless him. He's allowed to do it. So 5 minutes.
I would like clarification from the chairman. Does this mean that there is no correspondence from you to the White House seeking accommodation on this material?
We've had all kinds of correspondence with the White House on this broad subject relative to this one answer in the letter we got 2 days ago. We've not corresponded with the White House yet. If we will, we may. That's a decision we'll make.
And you have not corresponded with the White House seeking accommodation ever since the author who you are subpoenaing and seeking to hold in contempt articulated the view that there was executive interest and potential privilege over this material. You haven't sought to engage over the weeks since you received that communication?
We have not engaged.
And today, whew. This hearing wasn't just a mess. It was a masterclass in how the modern GOP abuses process, distorts the law, and then blames everyone else when they get caught. A Democrat from California calmly and surgically walks the chairman step by step into admitting something devastating. They skipped the legally required accommodation process with the White House before demanding documents from a private citizen. Translation: they didn't do the homework. They didn't follow the law. They didn't even pretend to. They went straight to contempt, because contempt makes a better Fox News chyron. If you're here for real analysis, real accountability, and real clarity, stick with me. And hey, if you want to hang out for more breakdowns like this, feel free to hit subscribe. No pressure, just stay in the loop.
We have not engaged with the White House since the letter on the 25th of this month, 2 days ago.
And prior to that time, did you engage the White House in an effort to obtain
all
these materials?
kinds of engagements with our counsel and counsel, both
I'm talking about
Justice Department and White House with our counsel over the last several months relative to the special counsel
this
for
subpoena,
reform.
Mr. Chairman. Did you engage with the White House at any time in the last several weeks since issuing this subpoena, the one you want to hold this witness in contempt for? Did you ever engage with the White House in an effort to accommodate, an effort to reach an agreement, an effort to prevent this from having to be litigated? Did you ever write any correspondence, make any call to the White House seeking to engage, seeking to get these materials that you're seeking from the author instead from the White House? Did you ever do that, Mr. Chairman?
We're seeking documents from a private individual who I might add tried to destroy the evidence.
I guess the answer is no.
Since 2
I guess
days
the answer is no.
The answer is since 2 days ago, I'm not
asking the question about since 2 days ago, although nothing
That's when they first raised the concern.
Nothing prevented you from writing a letter within the last 2 days or reaching out to the White House before this.
Now you want me to be clairvoyant and read the White House's mind and write a letter before they tell us something?
Nothing prevented you from seeing these materials from the White House
is known for
months, Mr. Chairman. for months.
I'm not a mind reader.
And I thank you for making a very clean record for any court that will look at this.
The gentleman from North Carolina said
accommodation
months ago the White House could have raised the concern, and they
obtain these
didn't.
documents, because your first move, of course, is to go right to contempt. Ironically, of course, for a chairman who was in contempt of his own subpoena.
Point of order, Mr.
We're still
Chairman.
waiting for you to testify and meet the obligations of your own subpoena, Mr. Chairman. But nevertheless, I appreciate you're making such a clean record for any court in this case that you have never sought an accommodation, never written to the White House, never called the White House, never had a communication with the White House in order to obtain these materials as part of an accommodation. Thank you for that very clean record for the court, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. Who seeks recognition?
Because what happens next is wild. The chairman tries to talk his way out of it, and ends up digging a hole deeper than the national debt they pretend to care about. The chairman claims, "We've had all kinds of engagements with the White House." 2 sentences later, "We haven't engaged with them about this subpoena." That's not just inconsistent. It's a contradiction wrapped in political strategy. Conservatives constantly weaponize selective memory to create narratives that collapse under fact-checking, but sound good when shouted loudly enough. Republicans present themselves as process warriors, guardians of the Constitution, defenders of oversight. But when asked to show basic oversight steps they should have taken, they act offended that anyone would even ask. This is intentional. The Mazars precedent clearly establishes Congress must attempt accommodation with the executive branch before dragging private individuals into contempt fights. That's not a partisan opinion. That's constitutional procedure. The Democrats simply asked, "Did you do that?" The chairman, "No." And then, this is the part that matters. He blames the White House for not reading his mind. My guy, you can't demand psychic abilities from the executive branch because you skipped the legally required steps. 4. Moral clarity escalation. This isn't about paperwork. This is about whether Congress still believes in due process, whether oversight is meant to protect democracy or just punish the people you don't like. When the chair of a committee openly admits he rushed toward contempt without even trying to negotiate, that's not oversight. That's abuse of power. This kind of shortcut governance is not new. Historically, when political parties drift away from policy and toward culture war theatrics, they rely on spectacle instead of substance. McCarthyism, COINTELPRO, Nixonian, enemies lists, Benghazi hearings stretched into political currency. Process weaponization has always been a tool to distract voters from what really matters. Economic justice, workers' rights, healthcare, environmental protection, voting rights, and basic human dignity. When conservatives don't have a plan to improve people's lives, they manufacture scandal instead. Notice the rhetorical trick. He keeps insisting the documents are from a private individual, as if that magically erases the need to engage the White House when executive privilege is asserted. It's sleight of hand. Pretend the law doesn't apply so you can justify outrage when someone doesn't instantly comply. That's how conservative messaging works. Oversimplify the issue, inflate the threat, pretend structural forces don't exist, blame individuals instead of systems, use fear as glue, repeat until people stop asking questions. If Congress normalizes skipping legal steps, then contempt becomes just another political weapon. That's not democracy. That's rule by impulse. And rule by impulse always falls hardest on marginalized communities, working families, and activists who don't have a lobbyist to protect them. This clip isn't just embarrassing, it's revealing. It shows how fragile conservative narratives are when someone actually presses them with facts. It shows how much of today's GOP oversight strategy is just theater for a base conditioned to cheer conflict over competence. And it shows why we need a Congress focused on people, not political tantrums. If you want more breakdowns like this, you're always welcome to stick around. Let's keep building a community that values truth, justice, and, real liberty.